'Twas back on September 30th of the year 2019 that Pope Francis issued a decree saying that this particular Sunday that we celebrate today, the third Sunday of Ordinary Time, should be dedicated every year and called the Sunday of the Word of the Lord, the Word of God, Sunday of the Scriptures, so that there was a particular Sunday in the year in which we would focus on the Bible. Not that we don't do that every time we gather, as you heard in my instruction earlier on the Liturgy of the Word. It's an important part of the Mass. So he issued this decree that the third Sunday of Ordinary Time should be celebrated as the Sunday of the Word of God, a Sunday focused on the Bible. And it's just happy coincidence, or as others would say, a God incidence, that God has put it so that this particular weekend we're focusing on the Liturgy of the Word as we celebrate the Word of God Sunday. In my office over in Cohasset, where I meet people, no matter where I sit in the office, I have view of a list of reminders for myself on the bulletin board or on the white dry erase board, things that I have to remember when I'm meeting with people. And the first one, it will sound a little harsh, but the first one is shut up. It's a reminder to myself to shut up and to do better listening, to be a better listener. And so no matter where I sit in my office, I can see this poster, and that's number one. In order to be a good listener, we have to be quiet. We have to create space in order to listen, whether it be to someone who's come into the office or whether it be the Lord speaking to us in the Bible. We have to create the space for that to be able to happen. And that can happen in our daily lives. It can happen through setting aside a few moments of prayer each and every day. It's quite true that God can speak to us at any moment, at any time in our day, whether we're busy working or not so busy resting. God can speak to us at any given moment, at any given time. But I think it's equally true that God is especially speaking when we say to God, I have set aside these 5 minutes, these 10 minutes to be quiet and to be here for you. I think the Lord is especially attentive and especially responsive when we can dedicate some time and say, I am all yours. For these next 5 minutes, for these next 10 minutes, I am all yours, and I'm going to shut up. I'm going to be quiet. I've created a space for you to speak to me. That can happen on a daily basis, certainly. In many ways, when we gather for the celebration of Mass each week, it is like that. It's our way of saying, yes, God can come to us any time during the week. Christ, risen from the dead, can come to us at any time, through any place, through anyone during the week. But when we say, for this hour, 45 minutes to an hour, for this 45 minutes to an hour, when we say to the Lord, I am all yours, I have to believe that the Lord will be responsive and will respond to us and speak to us. This weekend, as you know, we continue the 4-week instruction and preaching series all of us who preach in the parishes are doing here in Cohasset and Hull. And as we do that, this week we're focusing on the Liturgy of the Word, that the Lord truly speaks to us. It's God speaking to his people once more when we hear the readings. It's Christ risen from the dead when the gospel is proclaimed. It's Christ speaking to us. It's his message for us today. This is one of the ways in which he is truly present in the celebration of the Mass. Last weekend we heard that he was truly present and is truly present in the faithful gathered. This week we hear that he's truly present in the words of the Scriptures, especially the gospel. When the gospel is proclaimed, it's as if Christ is here speaking to his people once again. In the gospel today, we hear the call of those first disciples and apostles, two sets of brothers, all of whom were fishermen. And yes, Christ gave them the call as they were going about their daily work. And so too can Christ speak to us about our daily work. But as I said, I have to believe when we say to him, we are dedicating time to him today, I'm going to give you these next 5 to 10 minutes and they're all yours. I am all yours, 100% completely yours for these 10 minutes, that the Lord will respond, that he will speak to you, that he will speak to me, he will speak collectively to us as he does each week when we say for this hour that we are totally his and our attention is 100% on him. And so the call of those first disciples and apostles had to take place when they were listening. Even though they were working, they had to have some attention to what Jesus was saying. And so it is the same for us. It's when we can clear the deck of the busyness which infects us today, when we can unplug, when we can turn down the volume on all those voices in the world today that are clamoring for our attention, when we can do all of that and say to the Lord, I am totally yours for whatever amount of time you can give. If it's 5 minutes and that's all you can give, I have to believe he's going to work in those 5 minutes. If you give 10 minutes, whatever the amount of time is, the most important thing is that you clear the deck, that you clear the space, make space for him, no matter how short or long the time is. Today, in our celebration of Mass, we celebrate Sunday of the Word of God, a Sunday focused on the Bible. And in our preaching and teaching series, we focus on the liturgy of the Word and how God speaks to his people each and every week, and how Christ, truly present in the assembly gathered, speaks to his people and preaches once again. We heard one of the primary works that Jesus engaged in the gospel today. We first that he went from that time on, the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, he began to preach. He was a preacher, and he preached, and people came to listen to him. And later on, we heard he went all around Galilee proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom. He went around proclaiming, announcing, preaching, and people had to create some way in which to listen to him, to be attentive to him. The need that they had then to be attentive is no different than today. We might face some additional challenges in creating the space in which God speaks to us, in which Christ preaches for us once again, but we believe that he does do that. So as we celebrate the Sunday of the Word of God and focus on the liturgy of the Word, let us commit to creating a bit of space in our daily lives and this hour each and every week in order to create a space where God can speak to us, his people, once again, where Christ, risen from the dead, can preach for us once again.